This is the ATI Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the ATI Podcast. We are live here for episode 15 in season 2, and we have a very special guest from the band BLEETH. We have Lauren. Lauren, how are you doing?
Good, doing great.
Thank you for doing the show today, Lauren. We're so happy to have you.
Thanks.
So, if anybody hasn't made themselves aware or familiar with, in our audience specifically of BLEETH, we highly recommend you doing so. And you probably have heard some of their stuff, actually, and may have not noticed that, but we've had them on a lot of our reels recently, especially leading up to this episode, and kind of been advertising some of their music and some of our favorite tracks. But we're going to get into some of that talk later on in the discussion, but we just kind of want to start things off by conversating and talking about how we actually became aware of BLEETH ourselves. And I was just telling Lauren before we got on the call today that we actually came across their music via our Discovery playlist. And Ridge and I, who's also a contributor on the show, you guys are familiar with that name in our audience, actually were like, check out this band on my playlist, man. These guys are fucking sick. Like, they got a little something different going on. And the fullness and the thickness of their music, man, just like really stands out. And the same band he showed me, like literally within seconds, it was the exact same band. It was BLEETH.
Yeah.
It was just crazy because like that never happens, even though we have a lot of similar music tastes. And Lauren was sharing with us a story too about kind of how that came together for you guys. And I thought that was kind of interesting, fascinating. So anybody else might want to hear how you guys got that opportunity.
Yeah. So actually, when Harbinger came out, we're like with a label called Seeing Red Records, and Thomas did a great job of helping us promote the record and all that. But I actually would always follow this playlist that's on Bandcamp that this guy, Brad Sanders, puts together. It's like a metal playlist, and he just kind of like posts cool bands, and like it's something I've always followed. So I kind of cold reached out to him, and I was like, hey, just came out with this album, would love for you to post it if you like it and if you're into it. And lo and behold, the next like iteration of the thing that he did for Bandcamp, he put us on there as one of the first songs because he dug it. And in about like one day, we got like 40,000 plays on a song that we have called Skin of Your Teeth off of that. And that kind of really helped to get the word out. So it was really just like, right person with the right like audience of people, like can really help to make a difference with getting the word out.
That's so awesome.
That is incredible. Yeah.
And I would say, again, if anybody hasn't heard BLEETH yet, that's on the call today or listening to our show, how would you classify your guys' music genre wise? I know that's probably a funny topic of conversation at times, but I feel like you guys hit a lot of different areas.
Yeah, so I get that all of us, get that question a bunch, and it's always really hard to say because, we've been a band since 2014, actually.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So we've been a band for a long, long, long time, and like over time, we've gone through like a lot of different places, and But one thing that's been consistent with us, and one thing that like we've always carried through, is like we kind of genre bend. So like we'll mix genres together, like fluidly, and like kind of like manipulate them to make like our own sound. And it's definitely something that like since our inception we've always kind of done. So it's always very hard for me to categorize that when people generally ask me, I'm like, we play like heavy music. It's a little bit experimental, kind of post metal. is where I go. But we really like range all over the place. Like in one set, like if you were to see us play live, like we could be playing like a hardcore song, playing a punk song, playing like a stoner metal song, playing like you know, like a post-punk song, like all mixed into one. So it's kind of always been a difficult question for me to answer.
Yeah, and I could definitely see all those influences without question. The nice thing about that as well is the fact that you guys can like get on several different tour packages,
right,
and play well and appeal to kind of your more novel, you know, audience goer, if you will, as well. So it's, you know, I think that you guys' music that you are crafting does speak to a lot of people.
Yeah, that's a good point that you bring up, and something that we realize also, like we're able to play with like the heavy hitters, and then we're also able to play like with more alternative folks.
Yeah.
And it's really fun for us because we have like such a wide range of like music interest that, you know, it gets boring doing the same show, being on the same bill every time after time. Like no one wants to do that all the time. So yeah, definitely a good point you bring up, and that's how we look at it too.
How did you guys come together as a band? When I know you mentioned it started in 2014, but how did that come together?
So actually, me and the bassist Ryan, we were in another band like back in the day called, the name is fucking ridiculous. It was called Astro Kats with a K. We definitely came up with it when we were smoking weed.
You don't want to know our old band name.
Yeah. We're like, oh man, that would be like so funny, dude.
Yeah.
It was stupid. But we stuck with it, and that band was really interesting. It was like, it was in Miami, like a local Miami band, when the Miami scene was like really fucking thriving and cool. Like the Miami scene, like any scene, has like these dips up and down, but overall the Miami scene is a very interesting music scene, and it's like no other, because like we're so like separated from everyone else in the country. Like we kind of like really are like incestuous and like play off of each other, and we create like these like weird things, and that's why there's a lot of interesting bands that come from South Florida.
There's so many different cultures that interplayed into that too, right?
Definitely.
Exactly. So it's like our interpretation of what we think music should be, right? But it's like, I don't know. So we played down there, and that band was really interesting because we almost never played the same set like twice. So we were really into like improvising. We actually didn't start to form songs, even like songs, until like the end of that band's life. But what we would do is we would create like stories. So we would create like a story, and we would have like a story arc, and then we would like have a main character, which would be like, this is how we would create the set. So it would be like, okay, well, this main character is going through like this whole story arc, and then we would create like what we imagine to be like the emotional atmosphere for that story arc. Yeah. And then we would like perform that, and we would do that almost like every single set. It was really, really, really challenging and really fun and really interesting. And it kind of like just like put us into this hardcore like music making like monster machine, because we were doing it all the time, and we were like obsessed, and we would find even like weird things to incorporate in the set, like broken like TVs, like sound, and like it was really experimental. So me and Ryan were in that band together with somebody else named Derek, and we, towards the end of it, we started kind of wanting different things. Like me and Ryan wanted like to go on tour. We wanted to be like, just kind of get out there and stuff. And it didn't work out with the drummer we were in. So we decided to end that project. And me and Ryan started like a new project, which would become BLEETH. But me and Ryan before that went to high school together. So we've known each other for like 20 plus years.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so we started BLEETH, and it was like at the end of like the Astro Kats life experience, where like in Astro Kats we were starting to create like these like really heavy songs, and we were like, okay, we're transitioning out of this like experimental thing, and we're going into like now this like experimental songwriting. And like, oh, and another thing is that there was no vocals in that band.
Okay.
So then now we were going into like having vocals and having songs, right?
Right,
and then,
right.
So it kind of just like was a natural progression, and then BLEETH started, and then that's where we started that. And we actually had, when BLEETH started, we were like experimenting finding drummers, and we actually played with this person at first named Ale, which she's like in a band called Las Nubes in Miami now. That like they're doing their thing, they're fucking killing it. She was our first drummer, and she ended up like, it ended up not sticking. And then me and Ryan were like, damn, what the fuck are we gonna do? We need a drummer. It's like the constant struggle, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Ryan's wife ended up like meeting this guy at work, this guy Juan at work, who like, he was just freshly from Colombia, and he used to play in bands and stuff. He used to play like in like more hardcore, like fucking crazy drummer shit,
like thrash metal, like
thrash metal, yeah. And he was like,
Cool.
yo, like, you know, if you like want to play drums now that I'm living in the States, like all this stuff. And it just so happened to coincidentally line up. And she was like, guys, like, if you want, like, I can tell this guy to come and you guys can like check him out and like see if you like him. So we were like, fuck it, yeah, like tell him to come through. So like I called him, I got on the phone with him. I was like, it was like a sort of audition type of things. We didn't know this guy at all. This was
Sure.
like a total
Right.
stranger. And
Sure.
remember, like me and Ryan are like brothers and sister, basically. Like we've known each other for many years, and we musically are very compatible.
Sure.
So it's like a sensitive thing. Like we need somebody that fits the flow.
Yeah.
Like
right.
Definitely.
so we called him up, and he came over, and he like barely spoke any English because he had just gotten here from Colombia, but we all speak Spanish too.
Yeah.
Me and Ryan are both Cuban. And he was super nervous and shit. He didn't even have a fucking drum set, and but we had a drum set that he could use. And I kind of like showed him a riff. I was like, we had a song, and I kind of like showed him the song. I was like, okay, this is what it is, and this is like kind of what we're looking for. And then like as soon as he's like, it was like 1, 2, 3, 4. As soon as we started playing it, like every single decision that he made was like
In tune with what you're doing.
perfect. It was
Awesome.
perfect. Like I just remember like looking up at Ryan and being like, yeah.
Yeah.
Like
You knew it.
instant, like from the first
That's
few
great.
seconds. And like that's like doesn't really usually happen.
Right.
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't. So I like talked to him afterwards. I was like, dude, like if you want to do this, you can do this, but a few things. You got to buy a fucking drum set.
Right.
Like you need to, if you're gonna do this, you need to commit. You need to buy a drum. He's like, I got you. I'm gonna buy a drum set like tomorrow. Like got this. Like da da da. And funny thing about that is like I didn't know that day it actually was his birthday. And he blew off like all of his birthday shit. He said, fuck this. Like, I want to play in a fucking band. Like, he didn't say anything to us at all.
Nice.
And like months later, after we've been playing together for a while, he finally like told us like, yo, that was actually like my birthday that day.
Wow.
We were like, damn, dude, you're crazy. We could have like done it another day. Like, you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
But that's just the level of intense that Juan is. So like me, Juan,
That's
and
cool,
Ryan are like the core of BLEETH, and we've been like a family ever since, and we've written all the songs together up to this point in time. Unfortunately, Juan, on this last tour that we did, he was supposed to come, and he had like some issues, and he wasn't able to come because the United States is a fucking bitch sometimes.
Visa situation.
Not together, because he lives in Mexico now, so he would come and travel to play.
Yeah.
So now, since that whole situation happened, we've been like playing with we have like a group of friends that are drummers of ours. We are very blessed because not only do we have like our drummer, our like brother, but we have like a group of other drummers that are happy to play with us at any moment and know all of our songs. So like
That's
me
cool.
and Ryan constantly are like hashtag blessed. But like, and what's great about it is like we play with all these other drummers, and now we're getting like inspiration, like other ways to write new stuff.
Definitely.
So we've been playing a ton with a guy named Hector, and Hector is actually now like we've been writing some like the newer stuff with him. So, but yeah, that's a long story.
No, that's awesome. Yeah. You checkmark some of my other follow-up questions, but I gotta know, how did you guys come with the band name BLEETH?
I love it.
Oh my god, that's another question. You'd like, it's funny. Okay, so it took us like months, me and Ryan, like I want to say like months, like 3 to 6, maybe not 6 months, like 3-4 months. And we were just like, all right, man, we don't want to fuck this up again. Like, we don't want to.
I love that. That was your first thought.
We need to be sober when we take down ideas.
Yeah, I'm like, and luckily, like, I don't smoke anymore because I get like hella paranoid, you know, like old people shit. So that helped because I was like, yeah, we need to be serious about this one. So like we just really thought about it. I mean, like, dude, we were sending each other names like back and forth. And the thing about Ryan is like he's really good with like words and writing. You guys know like Dungeons and Dragons or whatever?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so he's like a dungeon master. He's got like all these like cool like ways of like thinking about things and like coming up with shit, which I really appreciate.
Yeah.
So you know, we were like going back and forth, and then like one day I was just like sitting there and I was just like the word just like popped into my head. Like I was just like literally like it wasn't like anything, because for me I really wanted something that didn't mean anything to anybody, so that we could like own the meaning of whatever the thing was.
Sure.
Right.
So I was really interested in like inventing like a word. So BLEETH came up and I kind of like pitched it to Ryan and he was like, like interesting. And then I started looking up like Urban Dictionary shit. And it turns out that in like the West Coast, they call bleethers. They say like, oh, you're a bleether. Is like people that like get like hella high and smoke a bunch of weed. And I was like, oh, sick.
That's perfect.
Kind of applies.
Exactly.
At least at one time, right?
Yeah, exactly. So then, so stupid. So then we ended up deciding on that name and we just stuck with it. And I'm happy that we did, because like for me, like the mission was accomplished. Like when people hear that name or think about it, they're not going to think about like anything else, you know, hopefully, if they know us.
It's simple.
That's what I was going to say. It's like, it's like a one-word band name.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, like when I heard it, it was like unusual. I'm like, okay, well, it's kind of like teeth, and I'm like, wonder where they get this from.
I literally always say that. I'm like, it's like teeth with a BL.
Blood and teeth.
Yeah.
Bloody teeth, right? But then I was like, you know, how gnarly of a name that sounds. Really fits the audio aesthetic of what you guys do. I feel like, you know, I feel like you guys are definitely pushing those sound waves to the brim. And I got to ask, kind of like, I know you've kind of talked at least the band trajectory wise, but like, what are some influence would you say are behind your guys' music?
Yeah, so like, the thing that is really interesting is like people usually lump us into like the metal category, but like we're not necessarily like metal heads. Like all of us, like any drummer we've ever had, or like me and Ryan specifically, who are like kind of like the core of BLEETH, like we listen to all types of music, and all of us actually have like other projects. Like I have a noise rock band called Prison Warder, and I've played like in an all-girl rock and roll band, and I've done like an experimental electronic project, and Ryan has like a like basically like a electronic project called Laboratory, where he hosts a funeral when he plays and like does all this other crazy so like we have like a really wide like range of stuff. So I think like what really like at first inspired us to want to go with like this specific type of sound was actually like the other bands that we would listen to in Miami. There's like these bands that we kind of grew up when we were younger listening to, like Shroud Eater. They're not a band anymore, but they were like a 3-piece, 2-woman fronted band, and like they were just like fucking heavy, man. And like when we would watch them play, we were like the feeling that we had inside was like, yo, I want to feel that and like play that. Definitely. And then there's another band called Holly Hunt that they're still together and they play down in Miami. They're a 2-piece that's just like, it's like sonically, like it explodes your ears, you know? And just like a bunch of other bands that like we even still play with some of them today, like Devalued it. Like, so it was really like I would say like our biggest influence to go in this specific direction was our peers and who we were going and watching like in person. And we just like kind of fell in love with how we felt when we were listening to that specific type of sound, that like we were like, yep, like no question, we're gonna make like this like heavy ass fucking shit. We're gonna make heavy ass music. And then once that was kind of like, we knew that was the vibe, you know, all of our influence of like, we really, all of us like vibe super hard on like 90s like
Oh yeah.
rock, like big time,
Yeah.
all types of shit like that. I even like, I mean, I hate to admit it because like it could be like cringy, but I like new metal. I do.
Yeah,
I
a
like
little bit of
fucking
it,
metal,
for
you
sure.
know.
Especially the stuff that started it all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that yes,
Yeah.
specifically the stuff that started it all.
Yeah.
Like, you know, a fucking
was-
corn song, I'm gonna
Yeah.
go off, dude.
I know. My wife the other day was looking at me like, I was like, it came on the radio on the local station. We had the point, and I was like jamming it as loud as I could. Yeah,
Yeah.
Korn never gets old for me. That's a
No.
classic.
Teenagers when early Korn came out and shit like that. So
Oh,
like,
yeah.
that was like right up our
Yeah.
alley.
Yeah.
without
Yeah.
question.
Same, but like, you know, like when I think about new metal now, I'm like, oh, I don't know. But like back then, it was
Yeah.
like so sick, you know.
Yeah.
Well, there's some bands that are even borrowing from some of that. You know, at that time, even like a newer band like Chat Pile, they sound like a lot like.
That was sick.
Yeah, they're so good, and they sound like old Korn. Like some
Yeah.
of what they do is like kind of a combination of that and like Godflesh, which seems like a weird combo, but they do it and they do it well.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, like I think there's something in just about any genre. Honestly, like anybody could probably find an artist in any genre that they would like. It's just, you know, finding that right artist that fit
Right.
your taste too.
Right.
For sure.
I will say, like, when I first heard you guys, I was like, man, the way that they fill out the soundscape,
Right.
especially because what I first heard was stuff off of Harbinger and not your first album, Geomancer. But what I heard at first was that, and I was like, man, I was trying to nail, because I always like to try to poetically like put my first impressions of bands together, and the thought that just kept coming to my mind, I don't think I've had like this audible experience of first listening to a band since Torch. Like when I first heard Torch, like how they're just so full and heavy, and just like I need more of that. And
there's three of them doing it.
Yeah.
there's three of you.
That's what blew my mind. I was like, holy
totally
shit.
crazy. for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. That's really funny because, okay, well, you know, Miami's a small place, so like Torch and all those guys are our homies. But Ryan Haft, who is like the person who mixed and recorded the record you're talking about, Harbinger, he did like all the live sound for Torch for like many years. And he also used to be in this band called Capsule. It's like an OG legendary band from Miami.
I'm familiar with Capsule.
Yeah, and they just got back together actually.
Oh wow!
I didn't know that.
We're playing their first Miami show with them in October.
That'll be dope.
Yeah, it's gonna be fucking gnarly.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just funny, like all like those connections. But like, yeah, we love Torch too. You know what I mean? Before we became friends with them, we're like, Torch is sick. Super bummed that they're not going to be playing anymore, but all of them have other projects. So
yeah, and Steve is a legend too. You know, he should just pick up and start something new. I think he's actually out in Washington right now, which is really the big reason, I think, because of the breakup, is just like distance and travel issues and things like that.
Yeah, and time, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
But all of like Rick, their drummer, is in a bunch of
he's awesome
projects, and John is like, Rick and John are going super hard with Shitstorm now. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Shitstorm.
Yeah,
I don't think I am, but
well, definitely check it out. They just put out a new album, and it's like John and Rick from Torch, and the album is fucking brutal, dude. If you wanted to get just blasted away by fucking blast beats for like 20 minutes, like fucking listen to Shitstorm's album. It's sick.
Torch might be the loudest band I've ever heard live.
Really? Oh my
they're
god,
up
you
there.
to Miami.
Yeah.
Yeah. To Miami.
People skip over the Midwest hard, especially St. Louis. They will, like, people will come to Kansas City a little bit more frequently. The Melvins, like, were about like the only other like real loud. Well, I take that back. I've seen Boris. Boris is pretty loud too.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, you know, like a lot of people skip over St. Louis. It sucks. So we got to drive like 5 hours to go see people.
That. A lot of people skip over Miami too. I feel that.
Yeah. That really, I didn't think about that, but yeah, that's quite a distance, because like even that's the most southern portion of Florida is technically, I guess, the most like southern continental space in the U.S.
Yeah, I mean, we have like the Keys below it, but yeah, generally. Yeah.
Yeah. I've never been to Miami. I
Well,
would love to go.
if you like loud, heavy shit,
That's
like
where I need
all
to
the
be.
bands are loud and heavy as
Awesome.
shit. Like, yeah.
Well,
like,
I'm glad to hear that sort of thing's going on in Miami, because you wouldn't just
You wouldn't assume that.
assume that.
Yeah.
I would
Right.
say, at least we wouldn't.
yeah, no, totally. That's
You-
why I'm always like, I am like a 305 representative. I will let everybody know, like, there's super loud, heavy, cool shit happening down there.
Yeah,
So-
usually when I'm hearing like, loud music booms and things like that, it's usually like Northeast or something like that. It's usually where people are like from the Boston area or something like that.
Yeah.
But kind of a hotbed for hardcore activity. But kind of speaking of hardcore, I will say some of like what you mentioned earlier too that I find refreshing is a lot of your inspiration is your peers as well. Yes, that's a thing that happens occasionally, but it's not something that we hear that frequently in doing on what we do.
Right.
And it takes my mind back to some of the spirit that I think that you guys convey, and it's in your music at times as well, but like kind of like 80s hardcore a little bit too. And a lot of what took place in that DC hardcore boom was a lot of what was going on there was basically just peers influencing one another. And I don't want to say like one-upsmanship, but certainly it's like they got inspired by this, so that's why this band took this direction, and with the next
Definitely.
album's release or whatever the case is. So that's refreshing to hear that's kind of what's steering the ship for you guys too.
Well, it says a lot about like being supportive to your peers too, right? Like,
Definitely.
not being like, oh shit, you're ripping me off, but being like, yo, wow, that's amazing. Like,
Absolutely.
and that's the vibe. That's the vibe. It's like lift people up, lift us all up together. Like, if somebody's doing well and somebody's gonna make it, we're all
Right.
gonna make it because we're all friends. And so
Yeah.
But yeah, that's good point that you bring up.
Another thing I kind of want to talk about too is kind of, and people might have drawn these conclusions themselves in our discussion today, and that is, I think your guys' sound has changed over time, whether that's like very methodical or not. But even with the Geomancer album, I could see kind of those connective pieces. Back to the Astro Kats, maybe even a little bit more so, because that album is so atmospheric comparatively. There's a lot of headroom on that album too, and it's got kind of a cavernous sound. But comparatively to the Harbinger EP, where it's like, oversaturation, everything's like to the max volume. There's a lot of low end on those recordings and stuff. Was that something that you guys were like set out to say, like, okay, we're changing the sound, or is this something that just kind of, I guess, organically happened? Like, what was the big difference there for you guys?
So we're like notorious for like not being able to sit still. Like, we make a song and we're like, okay, next. Especially when Juan was living in Miami with us. It was like we just wanted to make shit. But like, I think definitely like at the end, and we have like another album that before Geomancer that just was like on tape. It was kind of like the first thing we self-released, but definitely like when you like take some songs that you've decided are going to be the songs that you're going to like stick to playing, because like we have like a huge catalog of music, but we don't necessarily always play it all. But when you formulate those things and then you like do the process of like getting them to be recorded and putting them out, it kind of feels like you're ending a chapter.
Definitely.
It feels like I'm like, okay, I'm like closing the door to this thing that I've been doing, because like making an album takes a long time, and like sometimes people don't realize that like you've been playing those songs already for like a year or two, and like by the time the album comes out, you're like, oh fuck, I gotta go on tour with this album now.
Definitely.
And you're already making new music, you're already working on the next album or the next album after that, but like you have to respect the process, right? So I think every like album that we have released, we definitely like close the door and make a conscious decision to like start a new chapter. And it's funny that you bring that up, because we're on the cusp of our like we are now getting our next record mastered. Now we just finished mixing it or whatever, and that record, when we decided to write the songs, was like an interesting story of how we decided to write the songs, which we can get into if you want. But let me just finish this thought. So then, but now that we've finished that, right? Like we've already like we're about to send it to get mastered. We started thinking about like, okay, well now what do we want to do? Right? Like, so like this question is directly correlated with where we are right now. So it's like, we will make a conscious decision of like, what do we want to do now that is different from what we did before? Like, we don't ever say like, yeah, like how much more can we push this thing that we just did?
Sure.
So this next album that's coming out will be completely different from the previous album, and it's gonna be like a bit risky for us because we're doing like, I think like we're pushing the boundaries a bit, and but
Mhm.
I'm super excited about it. Like, but I think that people that like us are gonna
Yeah.
be like a bit surprised by some of the directions we chose to go in. But I hope that it will be well received.
Yeah.
So
And I could definitely, even just on Harbinger, I get from the Geomancer to Harbinger changes like right away. Just the mixing, mastering, production aspect piece of it is quite different.
yeah,
But then we could get into the musicality of it in some of those changes as well. Whereas I would say that, a lot of Harbinger is a little bit more up tempo, like as far as,
hmm
your songs beats per minute, you got a little bit faster paced songs. Um, while there's still atmospheric stuff going on, it's more in the realm of like a noise palette, like that of like, if you want to use a present day comparison, like a Kin Mode or somebody like that,
yeah.
kind of what you guys are doing. And I'll ask this to set you up for where you were starting to say the conversation is, are we going to see more of that going forward? Or are you guys going to get a little bit weirder with it?
Yeah,
What can we expect?
man, like all types of shit, but definitely weird always. We're always gonna do weird shit that we shouldn't be doing, that everybody
I'm all
should
for
tell us
that.
Keep
not
it
to
weird.
do. Yeah, but
Yeah.
fuck it. Sometimes we even tell each other not to do it in the band, and then I'm like, nah, let's just do this, trust me. And then by the end of it, after Ryan's like, man, I don't know about this, I'm like, bro, just trust me. And then at the end he'll be like, all right, sick. But yeah, so because one thing about Harbinger that's like very special, because you keep bringing up like the tonal sound, is like I in like made up a tuning for that album.
Okay.
And it's really like just a fucked up tuning that destroys my guitar every time I do it, but it sounds sick. It's like really atonal, but like full.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
and it is very like unique to that record. So like all the songs off of that record sound a certain way because we're using this like super brutal tuning. Which I won't reveal my secrets.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
you don't have to necessarily reveal
Yeah,
your secret,
yeah.
but I do have a follow up
Yeah,
question on that, and that's only.
yeah.
I'm just curious. Is it like an open tuning? Is it a drop tuning, or is this just
It's both. It's like a
okay?
combination. It's just like something that you should never do to your guitar. Like I don't even want to
Right.
encourage it because like I've had to like the
Jack
tuning
up your
rod on
neck.
my guitar. Yeah, the tuning rod on my guitar is like must be like one tune away from like cracking in half because it's
Oh,
just, like not okay. Like I had to um there's like this guy down in Miami called Joe. He used to play in like AAA, like Against All Authority, or he still does, I guess, because they got back together too. And he like he's like the guitar guru. Everyone takes their guitar to him, and I had to tell him, I was like, dude, this tuning's fucking killing me, man. Like, help me out. And like, so he set up one of my guitars, just to be able to like handle that tuning.
Yeah,
So like, it's really like I feel like a fucking diva when I play a show because I come up with like 2 SGs and I'm like, hey, but
there's
it's
nothing
like
wrong with that.
I know, but I'm like, yo, I literally like have to play these songs on this guitar because I
Yeah.
don't want to ruin like all my other guitars.
right.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I
totally
wouldn't either.
understandable. Well,
Yeah.
that's really cool to hear because I was just that's just me. I play all instruments, and I'm just like always trying to figure out how the sauce is made in the back, the secret sauce.
Yeah.
And I understand some people got to hold it close to the vest because that's what makes you you, and
Uniqueness.
you need to
right.
stand out from people nowadays. And if everybody, it's kind of like another band that's very famous for that is Queens of the Stone Age. Like
Oh yeah. For
Josh
sure.
Homme, he never wants anybody to know what he's doing. And there's a lot of videos out there of like close imposter type shit, but he purposely seeks out like Ampeg amps from the 70s that aren't even in production or in circulation anymore in most
Right.
cases,
Yeah.
and I don't care what anybody says, and you can speak to this as a guitar player. It doesn't matter what gear you have in front of you. You got to be able to play what you play. Like you
For
are only
sure.
going to sound. Lauren's only going to sound like Lauren.
Yeah.
Josh Homme is only going to sound like Josh Homme. Eddie Van Halen only sounds like Eddie Van Halen. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter whose guitar that you pick up. You've got a kind of a styling to your playing.
Yeah.
overall.
It's like the vibe that you put when you get with the guitar,
100%.
One thing that has like carried over through is like the gear. I mean, like, I know like gear for sure is like how you're saying. I agree with you 100%. But like certain gear for us,
Sure.
like just has like certain sound and like.
Right.
So Ryan, who plays bass, he's like a fucking pedal freak. He's like a gear freak of nature. Like this is like I've never met a man who has this much gear in my fucking life. Like he uses amps as tables, like which I appreciate about him. So he's always like really, as a bassist, he's always really like going all over the place with his sound and doing
Mhm.
and really taking up space and like trying to be like experimental. Like he's great with that. And I'm more like just like I'm like, you know, an old dog. Like I've been using the same shit for like I don't know, like a decade. Like I have my JCM 900 Marshall, and with the cab, I always play an SG. I don't ever want to play another guitar. That's like my fucking shit. I'm like an SG head forever. Like
It's your
just,
comfort.
yeah, I just love SGs. And I use like the same pedals. Actually, like this year I got like experimental and I added like 2 pedals into the mix, but like basically I've been using the same like delay, reverb, and distortion pedal forever. So like the guitar tones generally always kind of stay the same, but I have noticed over time that like Ryan's bass tone really like changes the mix, changes like the flavor of things a lot.
Yeah.
And when we record, I like in the past I've done like I'll redo it through 2 amps, so I use the JCM 900 and a high watt.
There you go.
And the high watt is like I wish I owned
Yeah.
one so bad.
I know. I've been looking window shopping at and
Yeah.
those definitely have caught my eye without question.
Love
And I've
that.
seen some like gear reviews and shit. Like that guy that I follow, Rick Beato, he's like a whiz on production and stuff on YouTube. He's got insane videos, and he does like a lot of like behind the scenes, how it's made, that sort of stuff. Where he'll get a room full of cabs and he'll try and replicate sounds and stuff. And I see high watts in the mix often to kind of get some of that volume
Yeah, it's
specifically.
power.
Yeah,
It's
it's just
pure-
straight power, pure
Yeah.
power machine for sure.
So when you mix it with like 900 that has like so much of
Yeah.
its own like natural flavor, it's like powerhouse.
I know you said you're just using a few pedals, distortion, all that. You care to tell us what you're using? Is that
Yeah.
secret?
No. That
No.
I don't. Just the tuning is like so fucked up. I kind of, if anybody ever figured it out on their own, I'd be like sick. I'd be super happy, but like no, like I don't care about any of that. So like I have a boutique pedal for distortion.
Mhm.
It's like I think the name is like it's like Black Arts Toneworks. So I use like one of their pedals for distortion that was actually like gifted to me or like introduced to me by this band that I told you was one of our inspirations like many years ago, Shroud Eater.
Okay.
Like the 2 woman fronted band. They had like a deal with like this guy who made these pedals, and that was like a huge part of their sound. And I was like, dude, I want to sound just like you, like Jeannie, who played guitar in that band. I was like, I want to sound just like this, and she got me like set up with one of those pedals, and I've used it ever since.
Nice.
And then when I want to like beef it up, like if there's certain parts I want to beef up, I use a big muff, like but a bass big muff.
Okay.
Just to like make it like
Yeah.
like
Punch
fucking
through.
nasty.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I do a lot of like weird effects on like in songs for like different things, and that all comes out of this pedal called the Cathedral from Electro Harmonics.
Yeah.
Yeah, that pedal fucking sick. Like so weird, so cool. You can do so much different things. It's like
Yeah.
it's amazing. And then I also use like, you know, an old fashioned like Boss holding it down, like delay
Yeah.
reverb for like some
Yeah.
of the more like dreamy parts. And then damn, so like in this new music, this new album that we're
Mhm.
writing, I'm using a pedal that it's on loan to me. I think it's a Ricochet pedal. Like it's like something that like you can like kind of like go from octave to octave, but like it's not a pedal. It's not like an old classic like, you know, like foot
Expression.
thing. It's like
Yeah.
yeah, it's just like a you can set it, and it's like a stomp pedal, but you can
Yeah.
set it so it acts like an I
Yeah.
had never used it before. I'm really fucking digging it, so I'm using that a lot now too. And what else is on my board right now? There's something else I just bought. So I really like Daughters. like daughter's sound
Yeah,
is like fucking
absolutely.
crazy.
100%.
And I went super like nerd, and I started like looking at like how do they get these sounds for like certain albums, and then I kind of like I bought like a few pedals that like I thought were like clutch to get some of these more like really like metallic-y like noisy things.
Yeah.
But I haven't put them on the board yet, but like I have them that I want to start experimenting with. So I think like for me, like it's more fun for me now to think about like getting those tones, just because I like doing weird stuff.
Yeah.
So I think I'll be adding like some stuff to my board soon. But that's like my basic layout that I shared with y'all.
If you like some weird pedals and you're looking for some to mix it up and just try something, if you get a chance to go give a test drive to the Boss Harmonist, I don't know if you've ever messed with that
Oh
pedal before.
yes, that's one of the ones I was looking at. Yeah.
Yeah, those are sick. I got turned on to those from Stephen Brodsky from Cave-In and Mutoid Man. Whenever Mutoid Man came to St. Louis, I was looking over his pedal board, and I was like, I've got to get this pedal, and I
Yeah.
have it. It's like one of my favorite guitar pedals without
I
question.
It's on my radar for sure. I
Yeah.
definitely want to check it out.
There's so much stuff that you can do with that. You can set your own harmonies through different. You can do thirds, fifths, whatever the case
That's
is
sick.
that you want to do, and then you can do like an S bend feature, which is like that's nuts too. You can make it bend down or bend up.
I love that.
There's just like such wild ass noises that you can do, or you can just inactivate the expression pedal, and it'll like play this like really. You can go major minor too, like you can do major
Nice.
minor shifts with it. I
Wow,
mean, it's just
sick.
the intricacies are insane, and you can get them relatively cheap. Like if you end up trying it out and liking it, you can get them really cheap on Reverb.
Yeah.
If you keep an eye on them.
Love Boss pedals, man. They're like
Yeah.
the secret sauce, dude.
They are. Yeah, they really don't make a bad. Like
No.
I feel the same way about Electro Harmonics though, because like their multi effects pedals, I think is where it's at for them. I got a Canyons pedal a couple
That
years
pedal's
back.
cool.
Yeah,
Cool.
that shimmer effect on that is my favorite, like delay shimmer type effects.
Yeah.
Just so beautiful. Like
It's like
you can
a
just
sitar sounding, right?
yes, very much so.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can definitely dial that in. I don't think they make them anymore, but damn, what the hell is the name of it now? It was an orange box one that they had, but it was weird. They had a hall reverb and then they had a room reverb on it. They had a pitch bend on that you could do a tap in expression pedal.
Nice.
And then they have a general distortion, and it's the Holy Stain pedal, I think is what it's called.
The Holy Stain.
I think that's what it's called. But
That's
yeah,
awesome.
it's a play off the Holy Grail pedal that they have, but the distortion clip in it is similar to the Big Muff as well.
Yeah.
So you can kind of do multiple things with that, but that's a really great multi-effects pedal too. I
That's
don't even
cool.
think they make them new anymore, but you can find them used for like $100. They're really cheap. But yeah, guitar pedals, man. I could go on for days.
All day.
Yeah.
You got to make another podcast just for guitar pedals.
Yeah, without question. I don't know if you know any of this as far as Ryan's board's concerned, but I was curious, like especially the low end, kind of how that punched through with Harbinger even more so. It's like things went to a new level. I was kind of curious because I've seen this pedal pop up quite a bit with people, and that's the Rust Box pedal. I know like Ken Mode uses it, Kowloon Walled City uses it. But like that seems to be like kind of the secret sauce to like if you want to like make your bass sound very fucking gnarly. And I think it's based off of an old Traynor. I want to say head or something.
Yeah, like
so
a
it's
Traynor
more
head.
of a boost. Yeah,
That's
and
funny.
makes it sound like very grovelly.
Yeah.
And man, I've got my eye on one of those right now myself.
I will definitely. He's gonna probably buy it right now as soon as he hears it or whatever because he doesn't have it. I just looked it up really quick too. I have it on my thing because he used to play out of a Traynor head actually, so he would probably really fuck with it. Right now he plays bassman, like a super bassman.
Okay.
Fender, and he uses like the PV bass T40.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, he's like been figuring out like which bass is his vibe, but every time we go back to that one, I think it's really like
It's got the sound. Yeah.
And he, like I said, like he's like a pedal, like he's got cool fucking pedals that I can't even name because they're all like fucking boutique. And I wish that I would have asked him to give me like a rundown of it. But one thing that I know that, but he's limited his board now down also like me, especially since we just came back from like a tour. Like, so we always kind of like reduce. And one thing that I know that's really been driving his sound as of late is he bought like and I don't know the name of it, but I know the concept of the pedal. It's like a rat pedal, but it has all the types of rats on it.
Oh shit,
Like
that's
every
awesome.
single one. So you can
That's awesome.
and you can mix and blend the different types of
Very
rat pedal.
cool.
That's neat.
Very cool.
Yeah, so he's been using that, and then he uses that just like me, how I have like an alternative boost that I use like the Big Muff.
Yeah.
He has like another pedal that's just like a we'll do the same thing. Like fuck, I forgot the name of that one too. I'm so bad with his shit. But like it'll do the same thing. Like it'll just make his sound like fatter. So he uses those two to really get like the tone.
Yeah.
And mixed with his head, like the super bassman is dope, and he's playing it now out of an orange cab, which is also really interesting. So like that whole just combination itself is a really cool sound. But he uses like a lot of phasers. He uses like delay. He has like pedals that have like little tubes in them. Like he's got like pedals from Make Noise, that brand Make Noise that he uses. Yeah. He's got all types of shit. He's got the real setup. Like
hell yeah.
When you make the pedal show, you should invite his ass because like he'll literally like just showcase them to you.
Pedal expert Ryan.
Yeah. He's
standing by.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
Sure.
I know that you'd mentioned you guys just recently were on tour and stuff like that. You guys played St. Louis and got to enjoy some of the St. Louis fare. You were mentioning before we got on the call today too.
Yeah, I loved the Midwest. Like before St. Louis, we were like in Kansas City.
Yeah.
Like we did the Oklahoma City. Like we did the whole thing. Like we went from Florida, went towards New Orleans, then New Orleans went through Texas, did all Texas, and like came up to like the basically all the way up to Chicago, and then did Detroit, and then came all the way down. And I wasn't sure what to expect because we dabbled with the Midwest before, but not in that direction. Like we'd gone like East Coast and then gone to Chicago and Detroit and then gone down, but we've never done it like in this route. That was like the furthest west we'd gone, and I was like, I don't know what the fuck's gonna happen out there. Especially like it's like crazy, the
wild Midwest.
I'm like, it's crazy times out there, and
it is. Yeah.
But actually I fucking loved it, and every single place we played and all the people that we met and all the bands that we played with were so sweet and so kind and received us so well. That's and awesome. Like loved the music. And like by the end of the tour, like I mean, me and Ryan and Hector, who played drums with us on tour, were like, for sure we're doing the Midwest tour again. Like we're not even gonna fuck with like the East Coast again for a while, because we had such a good time playing in the Midwest. Like it was so much fun for us, because we've done East Coast for years and years and years and years and years, and we get tired of like the same shit. Sure. And it is like a completely different vibe. Like it reminded me of like going to a show in Miami when Miami was like in its heyday before all the like gentrification and shit that's happening now that closed down like a lot of our spots. Like the energy out there reminded me of that. Like everyone's just fucking stoked. They're just like fucking stoked for music. And like it doesn't matter. It could be like a fucking Tuesday. I think we played like Oklahoma City at some spot like the Sanctuary, I think, like on a Tuesday. Yeah. And it was a great turnout. Monday we played in Denton. Denton is Texas, right? Denton.
That sounds familiar.
I could be fucking
Denton.
this up. Yeah.
It could be
but we played in Texas. We played on a farm in like a house show on a farm on a Monday. Dude, there was like a bunch of people out there. Like
hell yeah.
It was awesome. Like horses behind us and shit,
That's awesome.
Like I love the Midwest. I love St. Louis. Like all the bands we played at CBGB's.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm like just trying to make sure I don't mix up the places.
Yeah, there's a CBGB's venue there. Actually, not a lot of shows come through and hit that location. There's several good venues there, but I'm glad to hear that you guys played there. And
that's cool
for sure.
I loved it, and the bartender at CBGB's sweetest. Like, okay, first of all, like we drank free all night. The guy was like the nicest guy ever, and the bands we kicked it with were so cool and like gave me like mad like Deftones new metal vibes. So I was like, hell yeah, I'm like living for this shit.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
St. Louis is known for its beer. It's beer city.
Yeah, we're drinking. We're what's the famous thing? We're a drinking town with a baseball problem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
think so.
Cardinals are a huge thing up in St. Louis. Yeah, and we're big Cardinals fans. But yeah, St. Louis. I in the Midwest in general. Can really make this comment about the mid. There's such a heavy music boom in the Midwest right now. We've got a lot of really cool bands out of St. Louis specifically. More a little bit kind of like in the black metal or doom genres, specifically Fister. We're really tight with those guys. Guy that's in that band's from the same hometown we are and stuff. So like, it's just there's really incredible stuff coming out of St. Louis and the heavy, and there's even new bands popping up now too.
Well,
but
and I think it's a rebirth of the scene. You know, like everybody had that scene that that 2007 to 2014 scene, and it died off for a lot of people, and I think like that's reemerging. It seems like it's coming back.
And there's a lot of things that like kind of killed things off for us. I don't know how it was on the East Coast, but like things like pay to play and shit like that kind of started taking over stuff for certain like property management companies started taking over all the venues. Like, so Columbia is a big college town in Missouri. It's probably like the third or fourth largest populated town, but like the same company owns like all the fucking venues, and unless you're in tight with those bookers, you can't book a show there. Like, it's just they freeze people out, and they get like very genre specific with the shows that they let. So like being in a heavy band such as you are, or we were in the back of the day, like people will just automatically turn off heavy music in some cases just for fear that people are going to mosh or whatever, like the silly shit going on right now with like terror and shit. I don't know if you saw that, like a venue is going to ban them now because people are moshing at a show. It's fucking ridiculous.
That's fucking ridiculous.
The Midwest is so hungry though, I think, and that has a lot to do with it. And there is a little bit of that, Midwest despair thing. I think it's kind of like what's driving the heavy music right now in the Midwest is a lot of like what drove Midwest emo music, like in the late 90s. It's just kind of that angst, and people are just like looking out to find like-minded people, really, is really what it is, the simplest form of it at the end of the day, and to that commonality and that connective tissue is the music. So and I can relate all of my experiences and my friendships back to music usually.
Absolutely. Mine too. Yeah. 9 times out of 10.
And as is the case for BLEETH, right?
Yeah. It's got so many similarities to like South Florida. Like everything you described, I feel you like 100%. And I think that's why we loved it so much. Like I can feel that energy out there, and it was like really exciting and like just felt like refreshing. Like, usually tours are hard, like every day we play a show, we're driving a lot of miles. It's hard. Like they're not always like as like, of course, when we're playing, we're having a great time and it's super fun, but some are more enjoyable than others. And like this one, like it overall, like all the shows just were so like reinvigorating, like put life into us.
Good.
And so I just, I'm like a huge Midwest like fan now. Like, I mean, I don't like getting from city to city. It's fucking bleak out there.
Sure.
But once we're there in the places, it's like the people are so cool, like everywhere. Like everyone is just so fucking nice. And
that's good to hear.
Like,
I'm glad I'm glad to hear that.
Sometimes I'm worried about the report that the Midwest will get.
The Midwest is known for some things, so I guess
for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't leave our circle of comfort. We just like playing with other bands, But like within that circle of comfort, like I have to say, like great hospitality. Like people talk about Southern hospitality, but I think they need to be talking about like Midwestern hospitality because it was really,
I'm glad
really
to
cool.
hear that without question. That being said, the tour and everything, is there a show in particular that stood out to you, like that you really enjoyed on this recent tour?
All of them were fucking amazing. But the one that really stuck out to us was when we played in Chicago. We played this like kind of legendary DIY spot called Bricktown. And it's like this space that they built out that like people live in. But also it's like mainly like a venue, but there's also like a skate bowl, like a bowl that they built into it. And we played like right in front of the bowl while people were like skating, and it was like packed house, and people were like fucking moshing, and like everyone was just like going crazy, and they were like super into it. And it was booked by this person named Tate Danger. and they just fucking killed it with that show. And we like it was fucking super cool. Like it's always cool to play like with people fucking skating around you.
Yeah, that's cool.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
But especially like in Chicago, like in this dope ass warehouse, like where you can go to the roof, you can hang out at the bottom, and like people really loved it. And like after we played, like they were just playing like fucking 80s music, and we were just like dancing, like a great time.
Hell yeah.
But that show really stuck out to me. But like so many, like there's anecdotes for like every show, but that one was just unique because it kind of like crossed like a little bucket list thing for me. Like I like love skate park situations. But it's cool because like the start of the tour, we also played at a skate park. We played in Tallahassee. We played in a skate park that's been built by like these kids like underneath an expressway, like super DIY.
Wow.
And I mean, like they brought like a generator. Like we didn't know what the fuck we were rolling up on, and it was like all like we're like in our mid-30s or whatever.
Yeah.
So
same.
Yeah. So, but these were like kids, like 18, like not old enough to like 18, like whatever. And I was like, at first I was like, I didn't know what to expect, but then we got out there and it was like mad kids everywhere with just like a fucking generator. And we're like, all right, let's fucking go, dude. Like underneath this bridge, like, and it was
that's cool, super
cool. So like that was always like, I always wanted to like play. I don't know why. In a skate park, dude. So I got to do it like twice in this tour, which was really fun,
I mean, that's how I found out about some bands, especially early on, like when we were growing up and stuff. Like internet piracy was the thing, right? And torrenting or whatever. It's like somehow you actually find out about some bands is whenever a band's track is mislabeled and you have to eventually search as to who that is. But like terrestrial radio was still a thing. Even it was like the infancy of the internet, but like skate videos were a big driving force in like finding out about these other bands, right?
Yep.
So like, or like the CKY videos and all that type of shit back in the day. But like, I mean, even today, like, I'd like to, in the evening, I don't mind to get a little stony occasionally and sit down and just watch some skate videos. Like, it just kind of captures some, like, awesome childhood vibes. There's a little bit of nostalgia to it.
We're a rec state now, so we're proud of it.
Yeah, right. Finally. Behind the times here.
Yeah.
We kind of talked about the new record in the works and kind of getting mixed and mastered now, as you said. Mm-hmm. When can we expect to hear something off of that?
Hopefully really soon. Actually, we did something really cool on this tour where we made like a special tape, and we didn't sell out of all of them. So we only printed, I think, like 100. So I'm about to put them online on Bandcamp, but the tape has super demo rough versions of some of the songs. Cool. So this tour we played across like our last like 2 albums and then songs from this new album. So we made like the tape is all the songs that we played on tour. Cool. So but there's like the versions that are on that tape of like the new stuff are like not mixed. They're like super rough demos. So we kind of went like real punk with it.
That's
and we
cool.
just like printed it ourselves, and we're like, yeah, fuck it. Like this is just so be cool. And it's like it's basically just like this special tape for this tour or whatever. So we didn't sell out of all of them. So I'm actually was about to like in the next month or so put them up on Bandcamp and just
very cool.
If anybody wants to scoop one up. But the new stuff hopefully very soon. Like literally we just finished mixing it. So we're gonna get it mastered, and then we want to talk with our label, see what's up. And yeah, hopefully like very soon. Pressing records now takes like many
weeks.
Oh yeah, it's a pain in the ass. Yeah.
Yeah, but, unfortunately.
Yeah, it sucks. But there's actually like this like pressing plant like in Miami, kind of like started by a homie that I'm like interested in because they'll do like smaller runs, like potentially like a little bit faster. So we'll see. But hopefully like definitely in the next year. But it's already done basically, but it's just about like getting it to be able to be on vinyl is the next big hurdle,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the lead times on vinyl I think are starting to come down a little bit more than comparatively to what they were, but man, it was brutal getting through some of that. Like I'm a big follower of like the 2 Minutes to Late Night stuff, and they were doing the Splitsville stuff, and I've ordered like all of it, but the last one that they did, the Touche Amore and Circus Survive split, Like I had to wait like 14 months for that vinyl to come.
That's insane.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, people pre-ordered our record and had to wait a long time to get it too, because it was during that crazy, like everything was blown up. So hopefully this one can happen a lot faster. And genuinely, I'm like super excited about this album. It's like really a push for us in a different direction. So I really want to get it out.
Well, I'm super excited to hear it, to hear anything off of it. And I'm a big fan when bands push the limits of their sounds and kind of go on that journey, that creative journey, and for the fans to kind of ride the wave with them. So it sounds like that's on the sunset for you guys.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe I can send you guys some pre-tracks to check out.
Hell yeah, we would definitely love to have that.
No declinations on this side.
Sure, for sure.
Lauren, you've been so generous with your time. If you have a few more minutes, I kind of wanted to ask you some just kind of random questions to get peek into your personality a little bit more. Sure. It's going to be a mixed bag of things.
That's
the first thing I'd like to hear is being a Floridian yourself. What are your thoughts on Ron Desantis?
Oh my God! Please, the devil incarnate.
Okay. Right. We agree. We
pretty much figured that it's going down that path, but glad to hear it.
Don't even get me fucking started. So, like, one of the new songs. I've never really been like into making songs political, but I just couldn't not
with that guy.
Yeah.
Right.
So this new album has like some pretty politically focused songs,
right?
Dealing with like human rights and women's rights and like
Absolutely.
environmental rights and like all types of shit. I just couldn't like fucking sit back and not that this is the only thing I have to that
it's your
I know.
Platform.
Yeah, this is what I have. So, like, if anybody fucks with me, then like they can't fuck with him. You know what I'm saying? Like, so at shows now, like I make it like very clear like where we stand, especially when we're playing in Florida.
Definitely.
Because like if you're not fucking with me, like just get the fuck out of the room immediately. Because you're not like just don't want to. No.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's where I stand with that. Like, I'm super worried about what's happening in Florida right now. I'm like super scared about it. I'm a queer person myself. So like, it affects me a lot what's going on. And like,
definitely,
it's just really fucked up.
And, it's very fucked up.
And I hope that we're able to figure something out. But like, I can't help but feel like a little bit hopeless,
Yeah.
We feel that way too, kind of. I know we're not in a similar situation, but Missouri is pretty.
I was in this discussion with a friend of the show. He's a West Coast guy, Matt Miller. But we were talking about the fact that actually the similarities between Florida and Missouri specifically, because it's very monkey see, monkey do. Whatever Florida does, Missouri basically turns around and does the exact same thing more times than not, unfortunately. So this actually used to be a swing state, and now it's just dominantly been conservative and Republican, and it's even kind of dipped into those like neocon, like almost fascist political beliefs.
Yeah.
Like, we've had some crazy governors and things like that. Like Josh Hawley, one of our senators, who's a piece of shit in Washington right now. He's a huge Trump supporter. I mean, we could go on for days.
Yeah.
But we feel you. We got a lot of queer friends as well.
Yeah.
And all I could say is you've got our support, and fuck DeSantis without question.
Yeah, just fucking, we gotta hold it down and take care of our people, because like shit is fucked up out here, man.
It's unreal that basic human rights and things and of that ilk are like up for debate.
Right, it's 2023. Why are we having these discussions?
It's just, it seems so bass-ackwards. Like, even in my lifetime, again, similar ages, I've seen so much progress. And
it's nuts.
Just even the last 4 to 8 years has just been such a regression. It's unreal.
It's not fair, right?
Yeah. Like, women's rights, dude. Are
you
kidding
unreal.
Me?
Yeah,
Are
unreal.
You fucking kidding me? Like,
unreal.
No, man. And the big thing, like, with Ron Desantis or whatever, not to get too into it, because like, that it's a fucked up topic, but like the fact that like you can't say the word fucking gay in school, like,
fucking ridiculous.
Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, what fascist fucking state is this, dude? Like, banning all these fucking books, like banning all these things, like to educate people even in like higher learning. Like, it's like, this is like some like, I don't know, like Ray Bradbury fucking
definitely
weird ass fucking thing that's going on. And I just hope that like whatever, like us that were like older, like not that much older, but like we're like in our mid-30s, like can help to educate all types of younger people, all the scenes about like what real life is, because there's gonna be a lot of kids like growing up right now in like some weird like interpretation of like what is right and wrong, and like us being like, you know, older in the scene, like the best thing we could do is like show them like the right path, like, hey, read these books, like, hey, learn about this, like, hey, this song is about this because this is fucked up, and like you need to think about that, like, you know. And in the Miami scene, there's like a lot of younger punks like coming up, and like they kind of started during the pandemic and they didn't have like that, you know, they're like rite of passage, you know, when you become a band and you enter a scene, there's like a rite of passage that you do with the older bands, and like you get like you learn from them. And these bands, like, and I'm sure it's similar across the country, like that started during that time, like these kids didn't have that rite of passage, and sometimes like they don't act in the best ways. And you know, and that's it's upsetting, but it makes sense because they didn't have like the cool older bands that they're looking up to being like, come on, kid, like get your shit off the fucking stage. Like stop acting like a fucking D-bag. But those kids also are the same kids that are like growing up in this fucked up like situation, and like and I think like as being like, you know, in whatever positions we are in our scenes, like helping them like just like be able to be like a positive reinforcement in this world, and like instead of getting frustrated, being like, yo, like this is the way.
Yeah,
like,
don't know if anybody's ever smartened you up before, but let me give you a shot. No, I understand totally. So moving things in a more conversational, positive direction, we'll put it that way. BLEETH, you guys can hop on any tour package lineup of any current active bands. What 3 bands are you taking on tour with you?
Like any
active current band,
bro. Ooh, that's such a good question. Oh, okay. I love and like they're homies of ours too, but I fucking love Portrayal of Guilt.
Oh fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
like,
my god.
We played with them like over the years a bunch of times, and they're fucking sweet ass.
That new record.
Yeah, their new record's sick, but I love them. I would love to fucking play a tour with them. Damn. I mean, I'm like an OG Deftones fan. Like, dude,
speaking our language.
Yeah.
One of our all-time favorites.
If that even ever, that's never gonna happen. But like, fuck, that would be like this. I would like die happy.
Oh yeah. Like, bucket list.
Yeah, bucket list all the fucking way. Like, and if you guys fuck with Deftones, then you're definitely gonna like the new album for sure.
Good. Cool.
Let me think. Who else do I really fuck with?
Wish old Sergio was still in the band though. Man, I really loved his contributions to the band. I love Quicksand too. So.
Yeah, hell yeah. Fuck, who else? I mean, it's funny that you guys mentioned Chat Pile, because I've been like hella into Chat Pile too. I would love to kick it with those guys and go on tour with them too.
Yeah,
those guys are cool as shit.
Yeah.
Actually, the Ridge guy I mentioned earlier in the first conversation, starting things off, that we had both had you guys on our playlist. His cousin works with the lead singer of Chat Pile. He lives in Oklahoma City, so he's pretty tight with those guys.
Nice.
And was hoping right before that last God's Country album came out, I was like, I reached out to him about getting on the show, and then they just blew up. And haven't made time to get them on here, but hopefully we do eventually. But I love those guys for sure, man. They are great.
Yeah, they're really cool. Super unique sound.
I think that bill would be, everybody would complement one another. It wouldn't be so much of a stretch that it'd be an oddball, but everybody would be different than one another too. So that would be a fantastic show to check out.
Yeah, that'd be a hell of a lineup.
Yeah. It'd be pretty crazy.
I don't know. Is it? Have you seen the Calastia Boys? Their cover of it's something off of early Deftones. They're doing it in a library, but it's crazy. I don't know if you've seen that, Lauren. They're one of my like favorite newer bands as well.
No, I didn't see
those guys are kind of all over the map with their sound, but yeah, they just god dang, man. I'm pretty sure it might be Quiet and Drive that they did a cover of, but yeah, it's crazy to hear those guys cover that song too, and it's refreshing to hear like newer heavy bands being influenced by, you know, these bands and albums that came out over 25 years ago too.
Yeah, totally. I mean, just classics.
Probably is older than some of the members of the band too.
Right.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure.
What time what period in time would you love to have experienced firsthand? Any period in time, it could be hundreds of years ago. It could be musically, historically, just whatever floats your boat.
Oh, interesting. Damn, that's like a fucking deep question. Um, so I studied classical music.
Okay.
I studied the French horn. That's like what I went to college for.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So
that's a difficult instrument to play.
Yeah,
sure.
it's the hardest brass instrument to play. But
it is.
So actually, Geomancer, like all like the weird experiential noise stuff, there's French horn in it.
Okay, cool.
That I played or whatever. But so when I was studying music in college, I learned a lot about like different time periods and different things like that. And one that always stuck out to me was like the Romantic era of music, because like it was a time when like poets and like playwrights and musicians and all these people would like get together in like these little like salons and like just like kind of vibe and like create together. And like some of the greatest works of art came out of this like type of like collaboration where like there would be like composers writing something because they were influenced by a book that they read. And like that was also a really interesting time because they were also fighting for human rights. And it was like so I don't know what the fuck that would be like, but it would be cool to have been in like that type of place where like you're like kicking it with like Debussy, like just like hanging out, like the fuck, like talking shit, like yo, let me show you this new track. Like so
cool. Very cool. You get the honor of joining any band in the history of music. What band are you joining and why?
Fuck. Damn, these are good. Shit. L7, dude.
Okay.
L7 all the way, just because like fucking, like at my core, like I love women who rock, and like, fucking L7 out of all the girl bands.
Yeah.
Are the fucking sickest, dude. I mean, Babes in Toyland also rippers, but L7, like I actually saw them play live like a few years ago, and I was just like, man, the energy that they fucking bring out, and just like just the whole history of like the Riot Girl shit,
Yeah. Absolutely.
I just love that. So like, just like it would be like cool to get to like, I don't know, be a part of something like that. So L7 is like the first thing that comes to mind. I know it's like old classic stuff.
There's
but
nothing
like,
wrong with that.
Yeah, that's where my heart is with the.
That's cool.
Yeah.
You a fan of Slater Kinney also?
Yeah, of course, of course.
How can you not be, right?
Yeah, how can you not be, exactly.
You're stuck on an island. All you have is a TV monitor, and you can only bring 5 movies. What are the movies?
Oh my god. Okay, 5 movies. Fuck. Damn, they have to be really fucking good 5 movies because you're gonna be watching them for like the rest of the days. Basically.
I mean, you can go the comfort route, so like maybe some comfort films or.
Yeah. Let's see.
Aladdin, Lion King, Little Mermaid. No, just joking. You said comfort films, right?
Yeah. Well, could be.
Shit. Okay. So let me think. Okay, so I know this is like a fucked up one, but it's like mad, and like it's not that it's like entertaining, but like I think like it would always Hereditary. I know
Hell
it's like
yes.
One.
Thank you.
Like, you know what I mean? But like it's a sick movie.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. Let's see. Like Interstellar. Love that movie.
Me too, for sure.
Interstellar. Let me think what else. Oh my god, I'm gonna say one you guys are gonna like laugh at me, but like, yo, I love me like a good rom-com, a good like romantic, like I'm gonna cry, like like
oh, my wife. She loves them. I know.
So shit, I can't remember the name of it, but it's like the really classic one with like Ryan Gosling and like
Notebook.
Yes, The Notebook. That shit, like, dude, I'm a sucker. I'm just like a fucking sucker,
Yeah.
So, but I'm a cheerleader, which is like a queer root movie. But I'm a cheerleader is another one I would bring, and damn, maybe like Santa Sangre.
Okay.
It's like some other like just like obscure like fucking art film type of thing.
Okay. Very cool. Very cool.
Good picks.
Good
Solid.
mix. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Ari Aster, director of Hereditary, is one of my absolute favorite directors. Midsummer is another fucking great movie. I have not gotten the chance to see Beau is Afraid yet because they barely played it at all in St. Louis.
I hate the way movies are.
I know. It's ridiculous. Limited release. But yeah, we're huge movie buffs too, so I can go on about movies for days. Oh yes,
yes,
and I enjoyed
have
it.
Not yet.
I've seen it twice actually.
You watched that movie twice. I cannot. Yeah. I after seeing it the first time, I was like this the whole time, like
Really?
Yeah, like I was like, it was brutal.
Like one of the first movies I remember watching is Child's Play.
Yeah.
So like when I was like 5 or 6, and so like I don't know, I've gotten kind of desensitized to horror movies, but like. I genuinely look for a good story and like, you know, some good practical effects when it comes to horror movies in particular, because I'm just like so tired of CGI and stuff.
Yeah,
and
totally.
There was definitely CGI moments in that, but it was like the gore was top notch. I felt like they did something different and made it their own, but there was some homages to some other works. Like there was a bit of Seven in there. There was a bit of The Shining in there. So there was like, it was clearly an Evil Dead universe movie, but at the same time, there was some homages to some other classic horror thriller stuff.
I need to re-nick on like, I need to add The Shining into my, I've totally like that. Yeah, I totally like, it's like that, these questions I should have prepared for. Like, these are the ones that I'm like, just the most important ones because it's like,
this is a peep into me. I got to get it right. Right?
Yeah.
And I'll make the last one real easy on you. What are you currently spinning? What are you listening to right now?
Oh, man.
What's on repeat?
Okay. So right now, I've actually like, there's this like one song by this guy, King Cruel.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Crooner. Big time.
I actually, it came up on like my Spotify, like
recommended thing. Yeah.
Yeah, but I can't stop playing it. It's just like really, it's called Dumb Surfer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just really makes me feel good and nice. And I've been like, kind of like just playing it like constantly, like honestly, it's been like a new, like I know about King Cruel because like I used to live in New York City and I saw him like perform in Brooklyn or whatever. So I knew about him, but I don't follow his music at all. But this song really like caught my attention and, it's just been, and I always actually like lately I've been also replaying like a song from Korn called, I think it's called Closer.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I've been replaying that song a lot because there's just like some parts of it that I'm like obsessed with and I'm like, wait, how can I make this bleed? That's another song I've been like kind of revisiting and playing a bunch while I'm driving.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, King Cruel, that one came up actually is the band that I played for you a few weeks back. Because Slide, we had a current shoegaze band from Philadelphia that's starting to make big waves. We had them on the show, and they were singing the praises of King Cruel being one of their biggest influences, which I would have never guessed.
Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed that on their sound, but
that guy's a crooner through and through, and I couldn't tell you the first time I heard it, but I could tell you the first time that I heard it that I kept listening to King Cruel stuff.
Yeah.
You know,
it's
got a unique sound, and a lot of it's just him and a guitar,
right?
Which if you can captivate an audience with that, got to have a lot of talent in and of itself too.
Yeah. When I saw him play live that one time, I had never seen him. It was during like this festival called like CMJ that they don't do anymore, and that's like a showcase. It's kind of like what they do in Austin for South by, but in New York. And it was like a showcase, and I had never heard of him before or anything. And I saw him play, and it stood out to me even then. I was like, this is really interesting and cool, and yeah, so I was like really happy for Spotify. Spotify fucking sucks, but like they hooked it up on this one. They like dropped it into my discovery, and I was like, wow, I love this song.
Yeah, they're kind of a necessary evil in the music industry nowadays. I always try to just like to try and keep things in a positive mind frame because that's what I have to do in my life. Because otherwise, you just get sucked into the negativity black hole thing. Is what I always liken it to. But Spotify is kind of like the free commercial for a band nowadays. But we obviously try to direct. I mean, you got to be on Spotify if you want to be heard. That's how I found out about a lot of bands. I'll have to be honest, through Discovery Weekly and those kind of curated playlists, or following the Noise playlist. bands that pop up on there occasionally. But if I liked something, then I went to Bandcamp or I went to their social media page to see, okay, how can I follow these guys and support these guys further, whether it's, going to the label's website or the label's Bandcamp or their specific Bandcamp or whatever the case is. And certainly that's how we like to try to direct folks. Is that the best way for people to support BLEETH is through your guys' Bandcamp?
Yeah, definitely. Like Bandcamp is like direct access to us. We're sold out of all of our records and everything. Actually, people are like hawking them on Discogs for like like a bunch of like more money than we were selling for.
It's crazy.
Yeah, but I actually do own like, I think there's 5 copies of Harbinger left that are like in my house in Miami that I might like just put back up just to just have them up there. But yeah, all of our music, everything is like sold out right now, but we will be like putting up the tape up there. And when the new album comes out, we'll be selling it up there and probably our label's website too. So our label, Seeing Red Records, is a good place to find us. And then Bandcamp is like a bit more direct to us. And like, we'll drop merch on there and all that type of stuff. And then Instagram, cause we're like old people. We don't use TikTok. I don't even know. I have a TikTok for BLEETH, but like, I don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do it. Like, I have a 10-year-old niece that like just basically, like, or like little cousins that are like, how do you not know how to use this? I'm like, technology, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole TikTok thing's been hard to kind of get on board. Like, we're everywhere, but like really the thing that we use mostly is Instagram. It's hard to keep up with everything else.
Same. So Instagram is like the most direct way to get in touch with us.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, Lauren, it has been a pleasure talking to you today, and I'm so happy. And we're going to have all your guys' information in our episode details so that people will be able to check you guys out too.
Yeah, thank you
Apple
so much.
Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, all that fun stuff will be everywhere. We'll tag you guys and all that. And we'll be sure to get direct links set up to your Bandcamp specifically too, so people can come check you guys out, subscribe to your mail list, and kind of stay in tune with whatever updates you guys have coming in the pipeline with the new record and what other copies you guys might put up for sale.
Yeah.
And I might have to hit you up and see if I can scalp one of those Harbinger ones off of you. For sure.
Yeah, totally.
Man, that is a great record. And, I'm kind of a guy like love at first sight. Like that's the first thing that I fell in love with of your guys's, and just big fan and looking forward to everything you guys do in the future.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys both so much. You guys are awesome, and keep this going. It's really cool. Had a really good time speaking with both of you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah.
Hey, this is Josh from ATI Podcast. For show updates and news about the podcast, follow us on social media. You can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/ATI Podcast 22, on Twitter at podcast_ATI, on Instagram at the ATI Podcast, on TikTok at ATI Podcast. DMs are always welcome. Have a question for the show? You can always email us at atipodcastquestions@gmail.com. Stay safe out there.
This is Barrett from the ATI Podcast. Each week, Josh and I discuss current events, pop culture, music, TV, movies, politics, sports. Nothing is out of bounds. You can also tune in to learn about rising artists, small businesses. Whether it's music, graphic design, filmmaking, or even a brick-and-mortar mom-and-pop shop, we will be spotlighting folks and their endeavors. Listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Anchor, or anywhere you enjoy your podcasts. Just search ATI Podcast. We would like to thank you for your continued support, and as always, please stay safe out there.